Shut up! I hate everything about you. I'm going to live with my family now. So, just get out of here.
Okay, I got it. I immediately called the movers so that I could move out of the house. The movers took all my things into their truck.
How come there are no furniture and appliances in here?
Excuse me? Because you were the one who told me to gather all my personal belongings when I move out of here. I only did what I was told, you know. My name is Tony. I am 36 years old and I work at an office. I have been married to my husband, Kyle, for 3 years. We met at a mixer, which was organized by a friend of mine, out of concern for me who had not had a boyfriend for a long time. One of the guys who was the organizer of the mixer brought Kyle. My husband had graduated from college and started working at a company. He seemed to work diligently and gave me the impression that he was sincere. We then exchanged phone numbers and we began to meet up and go on dates. He was the one who would ask me out on dates, and we grew closer and closer. Soon after, we started to officially go out. From then on, it was just a matter of time. About 6 months into our relationship, he proposed to me and we were married. We were both in our early 30s, so marriage was in our minds from early on. So, I didn't feel it was too early to get married after only 6 months of dating. In fact, I was glad that we got married quickly. We greeted each other's parents, had a meeting with both families, and held a wedding ceremony. We also went on a honeymoon overseas, and after returning back to the US, we started living together and began our newlywed life. And our newlywed life was a lot of fun. I ate meals with my husband, whom I adored, every day, and on our days off, we spent time together. These peaceful days made me very happy. However, this doesn't mean that I had no complaints at all. My husband could not do any housework at all, so I had to do all the cooking and cleaning. When work wasn't busy for me, it was fine. But when I was busy working overtime, it was very difficult for me to handle the chores. So, I once asked my husband to do the housework as well. Hey, when I need to do some overtime, could you start prepping for dinner?
Huh? I don't know how to prep meals. I've never done it before.
Well, I'll teach you how to do it. I said that and tried to teach him how to cut vegetables or grill the meat. My husband learned for the time being, so the next time I had to work late, I asked him to start prepping for dinner. I came home and found out that my husband tried to cut the meat and veggies, but the way he cut the ingredients were just terrible. When I picked up the carrot, it was basically a block of carrot, and it wasn't even cut in half at all. Not knowing what was going on, I asked my husband what he tried to do.
I cut up the veggies and meat the way you taught me.
But if so, then the veggies and the meat wouldn't be looking like this. When I questioned him further about it, he told me that he cut the veggies and meat with a scissor. Apparently, he got scared of holding a knife, and he thought that cutting the ingredients with a scissor would solve things. I was absolutely mortified to hear that. When I told him that cutting up the ingredients with a knife is better since we won't be able to eat the ingredients as huge blocks like this, he said this.
It's your fault for not teaching me better. I'll never cook again.
My husband ended up being moody and said so. I thought that was immature of him to give up so quickly, but I figured that if he had never done any housework at all, it couldn't be helped. Then I thought it would be faster if I did it myself, and from then on, I stopped asking my husband to do it. When I decided to do everything myself, I wanted to make the housework easier, and I also started to notice many things about our room. Since we got married, the two of us have been living in the room I originally lived in, but since the room was originally sized for a single person, it felt quite small for the two of us. So I suggested to my husband that we move into a new place. My husband immediately agreed that it was a good idea, and we went to a real estate agency to look at various properties. After looking at various properties, we decided on the one we thought was the one. The rent was a little high, $3,000 per month, but we wanted to be comfortable as I would be doing all the housework. The place we were looking at was also close to our work, so we can get home earlier than before. This meant I could spend more time doing the housework. We also got the latest vacuum cleaner, cooking appliances, and so on to make housework much easier. I am able to focus more on my work as well, and my daily life has become much better. My husband seems to be satisfied, living comfortably in the new place. We were living happily, talking more and more, when one day a problem arose, and that all happened with my mother-in-law, Pam.
Oh my goodness, this is a very nice place.
Isn't it? It's so comfortable living here.
My mother-in-law came to visit us as we started living in our new apartment. It was the first time she had been to our apartment, and she was extremely excited.
I'm so jealous that you have such a great place to live. My husband's house is getting really old.
Oh, you're right. That place has been there for decades, right?
Wow! Aren't these the latest appliances? Kyle, you must be working very hard. It's a sign that you're making a lot of money to be able to afford all this stuff.
Oh, well, yeah. It's no big deal. I could totally afford this.
That was how my husband responded to my mother-in-law's words. But I actually bought the furniture and appliances with my own income. I hate to say this, but my husband's income is quite low compared to me. He seems to work very hard at his job, but he hasn't been able to get a promotion, and his salary hasn't gone up for years. On the other hand, I studied hard and went to a good university, so I was able to get a job at a major well-known company, and my salary is high. And recently, I got a raise because I am able to work late and achieve good results. So, I make quite a bit of income compared to my husband. But I don't want to brag about my income, so I will forgive my husband for saying a white lie like that. So I didn't point out to my mother-in-law that my husband was lying. However, I had no idea that this would lead to trouble later on. My mother-in-law, perhaps because she liked our place, started coming over to our apartment quite often. This in itself was unsettling and unpleasant, but she also complained about my housework.
Tony, don't you think you rely too much on these appliances? This is not what I'd call cooking.
My mother-in-law complains that I make all sorts of dishes just by cutting up the ingredients and putting them in the machine with seasonings.
You're not putting in much effort into it. Don't you want Kyle to eat something really nice and elaborate? Anyone can make something like this.
Using the appliances makes the chores all easy, so that's why it's popular among people, right? My husband doesn't do any housework in the first place, so I have to rely on appliances.
You rely on home appliances for cleaning too. My goodness, you're too lazy. You're not qualified for being a good wife.
That's how my mother-in-law would blame me as she says those things. Why do I have to be told like that, even though she doesn't know what's going on around here? And my mother-in-law's bullying got worse and worse.
In the first place, I was against you getting married to Kyle. You're already in your mid-30s, aren't you? I originally wanted him to marry a young girl in her 20s and so that they can have kids. With your age, it's probably impossible for you to get pregnant now. And on top of that, I feel sorry for Kyle having a useless, lazy wife who doesn't even do any of the housework properly.
That's how my mother-in-law would verbally abuse me. Why did she have to say such things? I felt sick every time I saw my mother-in-law. And I once consulted my husband about it. Hey, your mother complains to me every time she comes to visit. Can you make her stop?
What? She complains to you? It doesn't look like she's doing that, though.
Actually, my mother-in-law doesn't complain to me whenever my husband is around. That's why my husband doesn't notice. I would explain that she said this or that, but my husband didn't trust me because he didn't hear it directly from Pam's mouth.
Are you just making up some kind of story? I don't think my mother would say something like that.
I'm telling you the truth. Do you think I'd lie about this?
I don't know what the truth is, but well, I guess I don't really trust you, Tony.
I was speechless. Apparently, in my husband's mind, my mother-in-law deserved more credit than I do. At this point, I pretty much lost all affection for my husband. I wondered if he wouldn't try to protect me when necessary. When he weighed me and my mother-in-law in the balance, he would probably choose my mother-in-law instead of me. Then, my mother-in-law took an unexpected action. On a day off when my husband and I were at home, my mother-in-law suddenly came over. And she brought a huge luggage with her. What's going on? Why did you bring a large luggage with you?
Oh, stop making a big deal. Just carry it in.
My mother-in-law told me bluntly. But when my husband arrived, she said,
Oh, Kyle, sorry for coming out of the blue.
As she smiled.
Mom, what's wrong?
Well, actually, I got into an argument with your father and I got so mad that I left him.
Huh? An argument?
Yeah, so I'm sorry, but I need to stay here for a while.
My eyes widened when I heard my mother-in-law's statement. Stay here? I absolutely don't want that. Pam, why did you and your husband argue? When I asked her that, she looked annoyed.
Don't ask me that. Ask my husband. That man got angry on his own.
My mother-in-law would not tell me clearly what had happened. Then my mother-in-law asked my husband for help.
Please, Kyle, please help me.
My husband tends to be a mama's boy, so when my mother-in-law asks him for his help, he just goes along with it without a doubt.
Yeah, sure. Stay here as long as you like.
My husband responded without discussing the issue to me. My mother-in-law looked happy and hugged my husband, saying,
Oh, thank you, honey. Then, let's have a cup of tea right away.
She left her luggage at the entrance and went to the living room with my husband. I had no choice but to carry the heavy luggage into the guest room. When I arrived at the living room, my mother-in-law asked,
Is the tea ready yet?
I was really annoyed about that because I was the one who carried her luggage for her. I got frustrated and prepared some tea and snacks. Then my mother-in-law spent the rest of the time talking with my husband.
I'm getting hungry soon. Tony, could you cook something for us? Oh, but please don't use that much appliances. I won't allow you to skip cooking like that.
That's what my mother-in-law would say. Then my husband said,
She's right, it's not good to be lazy.
My frustration grew every minute. After that, my mother-in-law continued to annoy me by being selfish in various ways. She was staying at our place for about a week after that, but she never did any housework or put money in the house to pay for her meals. She just came to bully me and made herself at home. She finally went back to her house, and a few days later, my husband said to me,
I think Mom and Dad are getting a divorce after all.
What? They're getting a divorce? I had a bad feeling when I heard that, and that premonition came true.
Mom is going to live with us in this apartment from now on.
When my husband actually said it in words, it literally destroyed me mentally. Wait a minute. Why are you making such a decision on your own? Did you ever think about me, maybe? That I'd oppose to this?
Huh? Why would you oppose to it?
To your mother, unlike you, I'm a stranger who isn't related, so it's normal for me to be hesitant about living with your mother, right?
Wow, you're horrible. And I can't believe that you're saying that.
Huh?
I've been thinking for a while that maybe you're the one who hates my mom and that you have a terrible attitude towards her.
What? No way. I was surprised when my husband said that to me, and I felt like I had completely lost all affection for my husband. As I was arguing back to him, the doorbell rang. It was my mother-in-law, and she came with her huge luggage again. I thought it was déjà vu from the other day.
Oh, Mom, you came here.
Kyle, I look forward to living with you from now on, sweetie.
Yeah, likewise, Mom.
My husband let my mother-in-law into the house without my permission.
Tony, hurry up and carry Mom's luggage.
My husband then gave me an order, but I didn't want to listen to him anymore. Why do I have to carry her luggage?
Huh?
I never agreed to live with your mother.
Hey, what are you talking about?
My husband looked at me in an annoyed way, and my mother-in-law also looked at me with a disgusted look.
You're being arrogant, aren't you? Normally, a wife listens to everything her husband says. get on with it and just carry my luggage.
That's how my mother-in-law would order me around. I told you, I don't want to. Please carry it by yourself. I said that and returned to the living room. I refuse to be a slave to my mother-in-law and my husband anymore. I don't care if we end up arguing. With that in mind, I came to the living room angrily after the two of them had carried her luggage.
Hey, how dare you act like that?
You're his wife, but you're being so arrogant.
I'm just expressing my opinion. Mother-in-law, you're the one who's being selfish and arrogant, coming into our place without my permission in the first place.
Hey, don't be rude to my mother.
That's right. Don't you know how to respect your elders?
You don't have any attitude that makes me want to actually respect you.
Oh, shut up. I hate everything about you. You're worthless, you know that? I'm going to live here with my family. Now get out of here.
That's what my mother-in-law said, even though it wasn't her house. And my husband agreed to her.
That's right. Get out of here right now.
Alright, fine. Then I'll leave. I called the movers right away and prepared to move out. It will take me a week to complete the move, so I'll stay here until then. When I told them that, they looked very uncomfortable.
My goodness. I wouldn't want to live with someone I don't like for even a week.
That's right. Oh yeah, I've got an idea. I'll get a paid leave next time and we can go on a trip together for a few days.
Great, let's do that.
Kyle and my mother-in-law looked really excited on their own as they yapped away about the trip, and I just continued packing up my belongings. I immediately went to get the divorce papers and handed them to my husband. Even if it's a little while before I leave, it's okay if we get divorced, right? I said so, and my husband agreed. Then my husband filled them out and I filed the divorce papers. No division of property or anything, right?
Yes, that's fine.
Well, obviously. I won't give you a penny of Kyle's property.
I'm glad my mother-in-law and my husband was so stupid.
Oh, and please make sure to collect all of your personal belongings. They're in the way.
Okay, I got it. And just as they were on their trip, the movers arrived. The movers carried all my stuff to the truck. It was nice to have all my stuff cleared out of the place in no time. Then I moved into the rented room I had rented for the time being and completed the move. Soon after, I received a phone call from my ex-husband, but the voice was that of my ex-mother-in-law.
How come nothing's here at our place? There's no furniture or appliances.
My mother-in-law was in a panic. I calmly answered her. Excuse me? You were the one who told me to gather all my personal belongings when I move out of here. I only did what I was told, you know.
What do you mean? Those aren't the ones Kyle bought?
What are you talking about? There's no way he can afford the latest furniture and appliances with his low income.
What?
To begin with, even the rent of $3,000 for that room was paid from my salary.
No, wait. You're lying, aren't you?
Kyle is just trying to make himself good in front of you, Pam.
Oh no. Is that true, Kyle?
My ex-mother-in-law seems to be confirming this to my ex-husband as I heard her voice trembling. And I guess my ex-husband answered her honestly. I heard my ex-mother-in-law's fading voice saying,
Oh my goodness.
Then my ex-mother-in-law changed her attitude completely and began speaking to me in a nicer voice.
Tony, I'm sorry. It's my fault. So please come back. Kyle also feels bad for what he did to you as well.
Yeah, I'm reflecting back to my own actions. I'm really sorry, Tony.
The two of them apologized to me like that, but there was no way I would ever forgive them. Fortunately, we are already divorced, and I have no intention whatsoever of getting back together with you, Kyle. Please, don't call me ever again. As I said that, I hung up the phone and blocked their calls. I then contacted my ex-father-in-law once and found out something. Apparently, my ex-mother-in-law had done very little housework back at their home. He was able to tolerate it because he got used to it, but recently her spending habits became so bad that my ex-father-in-law divorced her before she could even get her hands on his own retirement fund. I was stunned to hear that my ex-mother-in-law, who had always told me that I was slacking off housework, was probably even more so than I was. I was so disgusted when I heard that story, and eventually they were kicked out of their apartment because Kyle couldn't pay the rent. Furthermore, during that time, my ex-mother-in-law was spending extravagantly, and she even had to pay back her debts with my ex-husband's small salary. Now my ex-mother-in-law is working part-time, but even with their combined income, they are just barely making ends meet, and the debt is only getting bigger. Well, it's none of my business anymore. They deserve what they got. On the other hand, I was surprisingly comfortable in the rented room I lived in for the time being, and I decided to stay here for a long time. My savings are increasing rapidly, and I am living a fairly stable life. I will continue to save money and secretly hope to eventually retire early. It was a nice touch to see that Mama's boy get the ending he deserved. It was also a nice touch that Tony's ex-mother-in-law also got what she deserved. It must have been tough for Tony to be pushed around by those two troublesome people. From now on, I hope Tony lives a happy, peaceful life. Thank you for watching until the end. Please subscribe to our channel. See you in the next video.